make your day richer than it was before. Got some good times knocking upon your front door.
We're back, everybody, and I'm here with Meaghan Alton. Meaghan, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Now, I want to start out with what you do and what it means, because I think you're a numerologist.
Yes.
And I think people think, like, what is that? And is that like the woo-woo factor? And it's not. So I want you to explain, like, what that actually is.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, my definition of numerology is that it's using numbers to interpret energy. And we use numbers to interpret things all the time, right? That's actually the point of numbers, is to measure, to interpret, to estimate, to make sense of things, to organize things in our brain. And we've been, taught that numbers are very logical, linear, and analytical. But anybody who's studied math for any length of time knows that numbers are actually also quite magical, and they have really cool and unique properties. And so numerology is basically the modality of using numbers to interpret energy patterns and just to make sense of things that you might not be able to see with your eyes.
When did you get into this? When did you discover this, and how do you like the learning curve for that, right? Like, yeah. I'm curious.
Yeah, it's not actually as steep of a learning curve as you might think. So I've always loved numbers. I actually have a master's degree in economics. So I studied math in university and learned all kinds of fun stuff. I used to work in the Department of Finance for the government, forecasting revenue. Oh, wow. So I used to work with numbers in a very linear, logical way. And I, underwent like a spiritual awakening when I got pregnant with my first child. I have 3 kids now. And when I did this, I started seeking out how to understand energy and how to understand intuition, because I was knowing things that I didn't know how I knew them. So I got my first numerology reading done. And this woman who gave me this reading blew my mind. She, I had these things about myself that I carried my whole life thinking, this is a problem. And the main one was, you're too sensitive, right? I mean, we all carry these stories of you're too much of this and you're not enough of that. But mine was, you're too sensitive. And I was like, she's like, oh, she's looking at my chart. You're really sensitive, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, I'm trying to work on this. And she's like, no, this is your superpower.
Ooh.
It was a mind-blowing moment. So then I was working as a business coach and consultant at the time. And I just dove in, right? I started doing the numerology charts for my clients. And I could give them specific business guidance and marketing advice and sales advice based on their energy patterns. And I was doing it on the DL. Like, I wasn't up front. I was kind of behind the scenes doing it. And then it would come up in a call. And they would say, and I would say, well, you maybe try marketing in this manner. And they try it and it would work. Say, how do you know? I'm like, it's your energy patterns. I ran your numerology. And so from there, it just evolved that I just got deeper and deeper into it. And now I teach people how to use it all the time in their daily life.
And you work a lot with business owners, correct?
We do. Yeah. A lot of entrepreneurs and business owners. I have a dorky, nerdy love of money and business and numbers. So business, finance, economics, numerology, that some people might think they're not related, but in my world, they are.
That's what, and I was thinking about that too, like the type of person that comes to you, I'm like, as a business owner, sometimes they're very rigid and they're very, like, here, this is my business plan. These are all the numbers, but they don't think that side of it. So what usually type of business owner do you finds you?
Well, this is the thing that I understand about business owners. Most of them have a very strong gut instinct, right? Or gut feeling about things. And that is why they're able to take calculated risks in life, because their gut is pointing them in certain directions. And when I help them to understand that there are, energetics at play with that, you'd actually be quite surprised. Even people who you wouldn't expect would understand or be drawn to, what's kind of a metaphysical tool. I've worked with people in the construction industry, in trades. I've worked with brick and mortar. I've worked with, probably you name it, because I've been doing this about 15 years at this point. So a lot of my clients are online business owners because I really value the freedom and flexibility that online business offers. I'm a single mom. I have 3 kids. My kids are upstairs playing right now. Like, I like the fact that I can kind of navigate my life around my business to some degree.
Yeah.
So a lot of my clients do as well. But to be honest, I would say most business owners really, whether they recognize it as intuition or not, they have a strong relationship with a gut instinct or intuition.
And so, like, when you're talking about charts and like, what are people finding through you or figuring out, or like, kind of what is the end goal, I guess?
Yeah, so there's sort of 3 kind of buckets you can put numerology in. So number 1, you can look at your birth chart. So this would be very similar to if you ever had your astrology done, right? Where it's like, it's based on the day you were born, and those numbers are very significant. So when you look at the digits in your birthday, each number plays a role in your energetic makeup. So for example, if you're a person who has lots of 1s in your birthday, whether it's you were born on the 11th day or the 11th month or something along those lines, 1s indicates ideas. So it's the start of something, it's the beginning. So when I see a client come to me and they've got lots of 1s, I'm like, ooh, you're full of ideas. Depending on what else is present or absent in their chart, they may trust those ideas and be able to move forward, or they might have insecurity around them. And then that's where I can come in and coach them as to how to develop that sense of trust in which ideas to move forward, which ideas to let go of. And every single number has a role in how we would show up. So that's birth chart, and that's you and who you are. And it's just the way you were born. It's just the way you were born. So sensitivity is an element of my chart. I was born that way. If I don't choose to work with it, it can sometimes be a challenge in my life. But since deciding to embrace it and work with it, it becomes an asset, right? So we all have those. And then the second bucket would be forecasting. So every day and every month and every year contains energy patterns based on the digits of the date. So, as I mentioned with the 1s, actually, if you look at any day digits that have multiple 1s in them, those are great days for brainstorming, mastermind, creative thinking, because the energy patterns around you are sort of conducive to ideas generation. So you can plan your life, plan, your goals, map, you've got a 90-day goal or a 1-year goal. You can map it out with the calendar as to how do I work with the energies present to maximize my results. And that's one that, once people have started understanding who they are, they'll go down that path, because it's like, well, what's the best day to have a sales meeting? What's the best day to launch a new product? What's the best day to do a presentation if I'm going to do a presentation? What's the best day to have a difficult conversation? Right. And so
you can get that like specific. That is amazing to me.
It's wild. It's wild how cool it is. And the other side of it. So I, am a numerologist, but I sometimes, don't pay attention. And I launched a new product in a 9 energy month and it flopped. And afterwards I was like, I should have known better. You should never launch anything in a 9 energy month. I mean, there's caveats. There's a specific way you could go about it. But if you don't address the elephant in the room, then you're not going to create resonance with people, and you're not going to create alignment with people, and you're not going to get the results you want.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right? How, like, okay, so let's say someone comes to you and they want to like start this process. Like, is there kind of a guide that you bring them through, or is it really like situation to situation, person to person?
It's both, really. So I do create a lot of free resources, like on my YouTube every month, and I have a podcast where I release monthly forecasting. So that's a great place to start if you're like, I just want to dip a toe in to see what she's talking about with these energy patterns. I also teach people how to calculate basic pieces of their own chart for free, which, you can go on my website and find, or DM me to access. And then I run free trainings usually once or twice a year where I go a bit deeper. And then the people who are like, want the support, I either teach them how to do it themselves and certify them as a numerologist, or they hire me as a coach. And I'm like, I'll just hold your hand and do it for you, whichever you prefer.
What is your website too? I want everybody to know that. We'll put it in the notes and everything, but.
Thank you. It's meaghanalton.com. So it's MEAGHANALTON.com.
And I have so many questions because this is so fascinating to me.
Yes.
So like so you chose to, you didn't even listen to yourself, and you chose to put something out there that flopped. Is it then like, okay, do you brush that aside and move on to the next? Do you rework? Like, is there a way to then correct that?
Absolutely.
Using numerology, or?
Absolutely. Well, yeah. And it didn't get the traction I wanted it to get. It's a tried and tested product. So I'm not going to like dump it completely. Yeah. I would never recommend to anybody to dump something completely just because there was a lack of alignment. But I would say, let's sit down and figure out where you felt the gaps were, why those gaps were there, and what would you do differently either next time you did launch in a 9, so in a 9, the reason why I say don't launch in a 9 is because people aren't looking to take things on in a 9. They're looking to let things go. 9 is about endings, completion, surrender. It's a very reflective time frame. So if you are going to launch something, you need to be aware that people aren't ready yet for the new beginning. They're actually processing endings. So if I had have done the better positioning as to position my product aligned with that energy, people might have felt that sense of like being drawn to it. Or I could have just waited a little bit longer and launched it in a 1 energy. And then the 1 energy is the new start, the new beginning, the fresh start. So you can, I would never say don't do something because of the energy, but I would say when you're making your decisions or when you're, doing your audits after the fact, you consider lots. You consider client feedback, you consider how you felt, what your partners and colleagues had to say, your team had to say, and you would also look at the energy patterns and how you think that might have played in and factored into your results.
Oh my gosh. Tell me about the podcast. How often, you said once a month you're releasing episodes, or is it more than that?
No, I do typically about once a week.
Okay, good.
I also kind of do as inspired. So sometimes some months I have more and some months I have less, but every single month I do a forecast. So for example, like at the start of July, I did, I think it was like 30-40 minute episode explaining how the energy of July would unfold so that we could really understand it. And I do that every single month, and I have been for years now. So it's just a thing that my clients come, they bring their agendas and their day timers, and we'll go into general patterns, but then we'll also look at specific dates to say, these are some of the things that you might want to be aware of. And like anything, it's your choice. You can choose to play and interact with it, or you can choose to ignore it. And the people who know that it's supportive, they just kind of, you feel it. Like you just know. Mm-hmm.
And what's the name of the podcast?
It's called The Alchemy of Numbers.
Okay. And it's available on all podcast platforms, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
All right, good. And then you also have a quiz that I think everybody should do. So tell everybody about your quiz.
Thank you. Yes, I'm so excited about this quiz. This was so cool. So I've always had a fascination with money and numbers. As I said, I studied economics in university. I have a master's degree in econ. And I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I kept coming up with these issues of like, we would put a plan in place and then it would be like they were hitting a brick wall. And I'm like, why can they not move beyond this certain stage? And for everybody, it was a different stage, but the plan would never get fully implemented. And I'm like, what is happening here? And I started to realize that the energetic relationship we have with money creates a set point in our life. So it's like, if you have a certain comfort and familiarity with how you relate with money and what money means to you, it's going to control what you will and won't accept in your life. So for example, and most of us, it's confusing. Like we want more money, but not too much, because too much would mean it's complicated or I have to pay taxes. And like money is evil and like rich people are bad, but also poor people are lazy and you shouldn't want money. Like it's so convoluted and toxic and twisted how we relate with money. And what I realized was there's no good or bad money relationship, just the same as there's no good or bad number. What it is how we relate with it. There's always opportunities in your money relationship, and there's always ways that you sabotage. And so I created a quiz to help people understand your style of relating with money and where that's actually a gift and where it's going to serve you and where it might, hold you back or challenge you, and then kind of give you some tips and tools to create healthier relationships with the money.
And how can people get that quiz?
So it's meaghanalton.com / healing currency quiz, I think is what it's called. But hopefully I can share a link with you. And I think it's on my main webpage as well. So if you
we'll put that in the notes as well, just in case.
Thank
you. Great. What do you want people to take away from this interview and learn from today?
Oof. My message at the end of the day is that when things are good or bad in our life, when it comes to us, our money, goals, whatever, we tend to think that there's a problem. Something's wrong. I need to work on myself. If I was less sensitive, maybe things would work out better. The other one I used to get all the time was, you're too talkative, right? So I'd be like, oh, if only I was less sensitive or less talkative, maybe I'd be better and I'd be good enough and I'd be right. And what I've really come to understand through understanding numerology and our energy codes is you are perfect. You are divine exactly as you are. And every supposed drawback that you think is the reason why you're not good enough, it actually contains an asset that is the reason why you are powerful and magical and will become your superpower once you stop rejecting the negative. And and when we walk through our life rejecting these parts of ourselves, we disconnect from our true power. And as soon as we can see, that, like, it's one coin with two sides. Too sensitive also means incredibly sensitive. So like, what is the strength and the gift in that? And that slight shift in how we approach life, it changes everything.
Yeah, take advantage of what you were born with. And you have to figure out what that is and then go with it. Like you said, a superpower. I love that.
Yeah. And the divinity that we all contain. We are all so precious. And if we only could see that in ourselves, I feel like it would just change everything. We would all just feel a lot more acceptance and love to the people in our lives.
I love it. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for dropping by and chatting.
Thank you for having me. This has just been so fun.
Yes, go visit Meaghan on her website. It's right there in the comments and all that stuff. And we'll be right back after this. Thanks, Meaghan.
Thank you.
In this world of innovation, would you rather have an old, outdated flip phone or a brand new iPhone? A horse and buggy carriage or the newest luxury hybrid? A dial-up router with your AOL account or a super fast Wi-Fi hotspot? With nutrition, what you have been using or taking up until now hasn't been bad. There's just something newer. We all appreciate advancements in science and technology. In the same way we seek the best and newest in our electronics, vehicles, and everyday conveniences, wouldn't you also want the best technology and newest innovation for your nutrition and supplementation? At the time, you may have had the best from what was out there and available. Now, there is something better and newer, more bioavailable, more convenient, better tasting, faster acting. It literally is the equivalent to getting an IV full of high-tech nutrients right into your bloodstream, without the needle, without the appointment, without being attached to anything for a specific length of time. Simply pop these tasty, all-natural lozenges into your mouth and savor as they instantly start to absorb into your bloodstream through your mucous membranes. That's it. And with the added benefit of negative ions, in other words, energy, there isn't anything else out there on the market like it. Now is the time to switch to the next improvement and innovation in health and nutrition. It's time for advancement. It's time for better. It's time for APL Go and our rapid botanical DNA drops.
I love our theme song. It makes me so happy. Big Infinite is the band that created that website. They make amazing music and do great work for suicide prevention and mental health. So go check them out. Big Infinite. We love them here. Hey, you know what we also love? That we get to celebrate 14,000 views and downloads of this program. At the beginning of the week, we celebrated 13, and here we are at 14. So thank you all for watching and sharing and liking and subscribing and doing all the things you do to get us to those numbers. If you do want to be part of the fun, if you want to be on the show, or you think, I have a business or something I would like to promote, and I would like a commercial on that show to reach that many people, you can email us at makeyourdayricher@gmail.com. Let us know how you are improving the world, and we'll get you hooked up on the show. And if you're like, Richard, I just want to support you in your show, and I know how much you love coffee, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/makeyourdayricher. You get your name in the credits. It's all kinds of fun around here. So go check both of those out and support the show, would you? I hope you do. Okay. I also, outside of this lovely program, produce and edit some other podcasts for people and shows. And one of them is for a company out of Washington called Lean Revisions. They have a podcast. They just released their sixth episode of their podcast, The Lean Lounge. And I love working with Jeff and the guys over there. And Jennifer, thank you for the connection. So take a look at the episode that went out today. It's on their YouTube channel, Lean Revisions, or wherever you get your podcast.
How do you measure the success that marketing campaign is meeting the target, the sales goals, the customer experience, the product quality? Do you tie all that in there too, or how does that work?
Marketing, at least in the casino experience, marketing is responsible for revenue. So everything we do has to be to satisfy the goals that have been set in terms of revenue, to satisfy the culture of the organization, and to satisfy the brand.
And the products too, because different casinos have different product mix, right?
All right. I always have to make sure I'm not muted when we come back from those clips. That is the Lean Lounge. You can get that wherever you get your podcasts, and support them over there at Lean Revisions. Thank you all. We get to record new episodes every week. It's a lot of fun. Okay, speaking of a lot of fun, it's the weekend. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you stay safe. I hope you have fun. I have family coming into town this afternoon. I missed a phone call during the show from one of them, so they might be on their way already. I'm not sure. They're coming from Texas. They're coming from Atlanta. They're coming from South Carolina. It's going to be a packed house this weekend, and our dryer's broken still. We just found out it's an electrical issue. I look like I put curlers in my hair, don't I? My hair looks funny. Okay, anyway, I'm getting a haircut next week. It'll be fine. You know what else I'm doing next week? I'm turning 40 years old on Monday. And we're going to celebrate here right on this show. So tune in on Monday for my 40th birthday celebration. We'll celebrate. I have no idea what we're doing yet. It's all a surprise. So we'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone. Go make your day richer, and go make someone else's day richer as well. I love you. Goodbye.